Hello everybody, today we are going to be going over the OOTP 23 beta, my personal review of the game, and how it's feeling ultimately, and whether you should be buying it when it comes out for the worldwide release tomorrow. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the right side over here, Perfect Team. So the Perfect Team function itself, the new auction house system, the new structure of it all, it feels really nice, I'd say. I haven't played very much yet, but from what I have done, what I've seen other people do, Perfect Team this year is going to be pretty enjoyable, but it's extremely buggy. There are a lot of exploits out there. It's not a finished product right now, and it is not available at launch to play. So if you're a Perfect Team person, I'm going to say it's probably going to be like a 2 week timeline, maybe a week that's out, but I mean, probably 2 weeks before they fix all of the holes in PT23 and it is released. Yeah, this is new. I've never seen PT this buggy before, but there were issues like a situation where you could get an infinite amount of money or an infinite amount of packs, stuff where the game was just crashing left and right, issues with stuff rendering properly. It's a mess, but the content itself, very good. And when PT23 comes out, it's going to be a very enjoyable version of the series, I think. I'm looking forward to trying out some perfect drafts and tournaments potentially, and I think tournaments this year are going to be pretty fun to try. The next thing I want to go over, and arguably the biggest addition to base game, is the new tutorial system. So you can play a tutorial game, and the options, there's 10 of them. So how these will work essentially is it's going to take you through a tutorial and teach you how to do different core things of the game. These do not take long to do, but they do give new players critical information about what you need to do to play OOTP, and it makes the whole thing feel a lot less overwhelming. So if you're unsure of how things work or where things are located, these tutorials will help you get to the point where you could confidently play the game, which is exactly what they were supposed to do. That's great. Um, Now, the big thing is that they're not going to have tutorials to help you with gameplay, which they really shouldn't anyway. But helping you get started on playing the game, that's awesome. This is great for new players or players who are not perfectly solid on what you need to do in order to make it through an OTP 23 season. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, I'm going to just boot up a game here. Here's a game that I played on the release night of OOTP 23 beta, and we're going to go through the new features that they've added here. We're going to go through the new features, and then we're going to go through the functionality of the game, because last year in the OOTP 22 beta, there wasn't too much of the functionality of the game changed for 21, but they've reworked the engine. They've got a new stats provider. There's a lot of stuff different in 22 or in 23 from 22, and we absolutely have to go through it. So first thing I want to talk about is the shop player button. So for example, we've got Zach Wheeler here. He's coming off an incredible season, but let's say I just don't feel like I can afford his contract, so we're going to shop him around. Now last year, what you would have had is these two options would have existed. You would just be able to shop up to 2 players, and you would ask for prospects, regulars, or veterans. Now, however, you can ask for it looks like you also have more options that you can ask for rather than just specific positions. You can ask for all just specifically batters, just specifically pitchers, different types of pitchers, outfielders in general. That's pretty nice. So you can also ask for, instead of just a single player, a multiplayer package or even a prospect package. So if you're looking for younger players who are going to help your team improve in the future, which I think my team pretty much needs right now, you can ask for that prospect package. So let's see what we get offered here for Wheeler. And it looks like Johan Oviedo from the Cardinals is probably the best headline prospect. We got Joey Weimer from the Brewers. He's a top 100 prospect right now. That's pretty nice. Brendan Shoemake, that's a pretty solid offer from the Braves with a decent package overall. So yeah, you could go through, check out the different packages, figure out one that you like, negotiate, of course, as always, before you complete the trade, and then finish it. And as you can see, most of these prospect packages include multiple players. So this will give you, like, if you're looking for depth or if you're looking for a number of quality prospects for a superstar level player, then prospect package might be an interesting thing to check out. But you can also do just a normal multiplayer package. So let's see what teams are going to offer us for this. But there's also the convenient little button that you can allow the AI to include players from your team to make a deal work. So let's see who we could get offered here. D-backs with a horrible offer, but we could get Madison Bumgarner from the St. Louis, or Paul Goldschmidt from the St. Louis Cardinals. Get Lorenzo Cain from the Brewers. He's a very good fielder, of course. Here's an actual package from the Guardians. Austin Allen and Danny Duffy. So two pretty solid players there. We've got Chris Bryant and German Marquez from the Rockies. So this deal right here is probably what I would consider a proper multiplayer package where we're getting two quality players for our superstar guy. We've got Alex Bregman and Lance McCullers Jr. from the Astros. This is another pretty quality multiplayer package. Marcus Stroman, Wilson Contreras, and Cash from the Cubs. That certainly isn't a bad offer. Tyler Stevenson, Mike Moustakas, and Kyle Farmer. So a very nice three-player package from the Reds. Lots of cool stuff with the new shop feature. It's just a great way to find the players you need faster, or if you're a new player and you're not so confident working around with the trade engine to identify trades yourself, the new shop feature is going to make it a lot easier for you to complete trades. Now the next thing that I want to discuss, and these were most of the big features, but I want to talk briefly about news. Now, it is nice that you can sort through news, and it's especially nice because you can no longer delete all messages. I don't know why they got rid of that button. Maybe because people accidentally did it, but it's going to make it harder. It's going to make games slow down as you go on because you're going to have hundreds of thousands of emails eventually. Yeah, but it's not horrible. So the new thing, another new thing I want to talk about, reworked scouting system. This is actually really big. I haven't tested out too much yet, but it seems like scouting accuracy is a lot lower than it was last year, which it should be, frankly. You shouldn't have insane accuracy on every player with any scout who's highly favored tools. You should have a little more to do than that. It should be worthwhile to invest in your scouting budget to some degree. So that's going to be interesting to see. Now, how scouting works seems to be pretty much the same, and I'm still pretty confident highly favored tool scouts are number one, but there's going to be a little more to it, and I will definitely look into the scouting system more and release a video later breaking it down for you guys with everything you need to know about getting accurate reports on players, because obviously you have to do that in order to win games. I will state that it is mostly prospects that you're getting less accurate reports on, which is how it should be. Other major changes to the game. Strategy. You now have the universal bench percentages, and if you're someone like me who loves base game and loves strategy, but you don't really want to go through every single player strategy necessarily, this is awesome. Or if you're just looking to play through a season real quick, instead of taking a good, I'd say probably 5 minutes to set each player's individual fatigue percentage, it just takes you a few seconds to come and click the universal fatigue fatigue percentage benching. A lot better in my opinion. This makes life just so much easier. Yeah. Uh, those were really the big features out of the game. Obviously, there's a few new settings, but we're now going to get into the part of the game where they have changed things with the engine. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, we're just going to go through this. We already talked about scouting. So player aging and development. I'm not sure how different it is, but I've got a lot of people telling me, and my brief simulation experiences are supporting this, that they have tweaked how development and aging functions. It seems like prospects are more likely to develop and more likely to develop younger, and players start falling off a cliff at a younger age. So a player's peak may have been shifted from like 27, 28 in OOTP to like 25, 26, which is very significant in terms of a player's usage. And it might honestly be at the point where you might want to use the nifty little sliders, which are right here, aging target age, to have players age at probably an older or maybe even a much older age than normal. Those are really the big settings things. The next big thing to talk about is how movement's been overworked. So last year, movement was really hard to improve on a player, essentially. The difference between a 50 and a 55 movement pitcher was astronomical in terms of raw movement or ground ball percentage. But this year, it's much easier to see those super high movement guys. I mean, guys like Mark Melanson have 80 movement now. It's crazy how much movement some guys have got. Ground ball percentage is way more heavily weighted into movement, and it's also much different in the functionality within the game. So I don't think they actually changed how the game engine itself works other than movement. I'm still not 100% certain that they haven't tweaked things. The big thing I'm thinking of is it's possible that the order of operations, which is my biggest contribution to the offensive knowledge of this game, is probably solidifying order of operations. Yeah, I want to test that again, but otherwise, movement is the big change to the engine this year in terms of its functionality. It's it's crazy how important movement is. Having a pitcher with high movement, you're basically not giving up home runs. I'm not sure if there's even more effects for movement even this year. It's possible that movement's just crazy overpowered. But I expect that I'm going to be doing more research into it in the near future, checking how ground ball percentage and movement interact, and we'll see if the movement on a player's card is pretty reflective of a home run rate, or if an extreme or more, or I should say, more extreme ground ball or fly ball rate points that it becomes different, or yeah, essentially that. I'm definitely going to be feeling a lot with movement this year. And the next big thing is defense. Now, for those of you who have not yet watched my defense video, and yeah, I picked up Austin Hedges in this first game before I tested out defense. Emphasis on the before I tested out defense. Yeah, I, I'm shocked by how different defense is this year in a lot of ways, pretty much every way. So for one, catcher ability has been shredded. Um, and basically every other position defensively is more important. So you're not going to get as much value from your catcher. So now it's actually an offensive position, and you've really got to get like an outstanding shortstop, third base, center field defensively, because it's going to be really you're going to need to make up those runs that you previously got last year from catcher ability in that way. So yeah, all those extra balls at play, which is going to be even more so on the high end teams because of the movement on these pitchers. Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of balls to play, and you're going to need those incredible defensive players at key positions to eat those up and ensure that um, that you are successful with your ability to prevent runs. So, just for example, Anthony Rendon was my third baseman in this run. He's not going to cut it for me. I don't think his defensive ratings are significant enough or sufficient to cover third base. And he would have absolutely been last year, but now the benchmark for third base is higher. Like, I would genuinely consider running Andrelton Simmons over Anthony Rendon right now for the glove at third base, because third base defense just got a massive spike in how important it is, and Simmons has the best arm in the game. If you want more information on the defensive overhaul, I will link that video in the description. I really do recommend everyone check it out because it completely revolutionizes this year the way that the game is going to be played. Now, offense, I do not think has actually been changed all that much. The way strategies work, though, we talked about strategies, but not the way they work. Like these strategies, they seem to be functioning differently this year, in that they're less effective than they have been in the past. So I'm going to be looking into strategies and seeing, does it really matter where you set your strategies that much now, or is it going to be just a minor change in the way that your team is operated? Another thing to look out for, it hasn't been extensively tested yet, but it looks like the third time through the order, starting pitchers are significantly less effective. So I would recommend that everybody set an 18 batters faced pitch count limit on their not elite starting pitchers, because you're just going to see a massive drop off after that point. This really just depreciates the value of stamina on the non-elite pitchers to an extreme because, I mean, guys with like 40 stamina are about as good as guys with 60 stamina now because of the third time through the order shenanigans that seems to be going on in the game. Yeah, those are the big things for now. Now, as for the game itself, the trade engine seems to be slightly easier. Obviously, you can still take the difficulty up, but I did this save I did on one tick above normal, so trade difficulty is 6 for my first time through. I have no experience with this engine yet, and I was able to build a ridiculous team with guys like Horner, guys like Yelich, guys like Rendon, Winker, Yuli Gurriel, Nicky Lopez, Julio Rodriguez. I mean, essentially, just the entire team was ridiculously stacked, and I got some players retained without really doing anything either. So it's just very strange the way the trade engine's working this year. I'll obviously investigate further. I'll probably make a video on an in-depth dive on what's so different about the trade engine this year. Historical games, which I was really hoping would be vastly improved, they're not. They're about where they were last year. Trade engine might be different for them, but the way players are generated, which we were hoping would be overhauled, it's not. The big change seems to be, once again, just the way that the game functions will impact historical games. So, now if you are somebody wondering if you should be buying OOTP 23 for the worldwide release tomorrow and getting on Steam for that sweet 10% discount, of course I'm going to say yes. I mean, it's an incredible franchise, and being able to get involved in the new game it's a great experience. It gives you something fresh, and even if the trade engine, even if stuff needs tweaking right now, even if the game's not quite a finished product, it is still a great experience to be able to take yourself into what the future of OTP is going to be from 22. And of course, the game's going to evolve as it goes, so that's going to be an incredible experience to be able to essentially be playing a different version of OTP as we go through the 23 cycle, which I genuinely expect is what's going to happen, and trying to figure that out along the way. It's going to be interesting. As for my overall recommendations, if you're looking to play Perfect Team, I would recommend buying the game, but you have to keep in mind that Perfect Team is not actually going to be available at launch, so you're probably going to be waiting a week or so in order to actually play it. But if you want to play Perfect Team from launch, still get it the first week and just hold out because it's going to be 10% cheaper. If you're looking to play base game right now is pretty interesting. I wouldn't necessarily say it's better or worse than last year. I wouldn't say it's more or less realistic. There are parts that have been significantly improved, and then there's stuff that just feels really strange, like the insane weighting of defense in the field this year. I'm not sure how that's going to change over the cycle, but I would still recommend getting the game to play franchise mode. There's a lot of interesting things going on. I will create settings that make this play more normally. I'm going to be working on a default settings that will make this feel like an actual MLB save. I might even be rerating players based on slightly improved things, aka Cody Bellinger's gonna suck. So keep an eye out for that. I've been meaning to do that for a while, but I just have never been able to find the time. So we will see if I can do that. If you are looking to play historical games, that's the one type of person I'm not going to recommend OTP 23 to, assuming you have a previous version of the game. If you don't have the game, I would still recommend it. But historical games just haven't really been worked on very much. It seems like it's on the back burner because live starts and PT get all the hype going into new games. I would love to see a version of OTP coming up in the near future where historical just gets massively improved. Like, it's the highlight of the release that we get massive changes to historical where it's much more realistic, where it feels like you're actually in the era that you're simulating. But for now, it's still pretty static. And if you are a new player looking to get into OTP, this version of the game, while pretty strange and wacky right now, is still by far the most friendly to new players yet. It helps you digest new features. The game's going to get improved as we go, and it'll be more intuitive what you should be doing with time. I will make videos about, obviously, how to help new players learn the game, and I will be making settings that will, of course, make it feel more like real MLB, so you're not trying to just pick something completely different up, because the OTP environment is not the Major League Baseball environment. Although they do actually do a pretty darn good job replicating it, even with some of the stranger decisions that were made this year. All right, that's pretty much it for the beta. I'm overall enjoying the game so far. I'm pretty happy with all of the new additions, and I'm looking forwards to seeing how this engine's going to evolve throughout the year, because that is definitely the highlight for me, how the engine's going to be working once we get further into the 23 cycle and into the future, 24, 25, etc. Thanks for watching, you guys. I hope this was informative for you, and I will see you on the next video.